Nancy Pelosi, U.S. House of Representatives. Elections. Philip Burton died in 1983 and was succeeded by his wife, Sala. In late 1986, Sala became ill with cancer and decided not to run for re-election in 1988. She picked Pelosi as her designated successor, guaranteeing her the support of the Burtons' contacts. Sala died on February 1, 1987, just a month after being sworn in for a second full term. Pelosi won the special election to succeed her, narrowly defeating San Francisco Supervisor Harry Britt on April 7, 1987, then easily defeating Republican candidate Harriet Ross on June 2, 1987. Pelosi took office a week later. Pelosi represents one of the safest Democratic districts in the country. Democrats have held the seat since 1949 and Republicans, who currently make up only 13% of registered voters in the district, have not made a serious bid for the seat since the early 1960s. She won re-election in the regular election in 1988 and has been re-elected another 16 times with no substantive opposition, winning by an average of 80% of the vote. She has not participated in candidates' debates since her 1987 race against Harriet Ross. The strongest challenge Pelosi has faced was in 2016 when Preston Pikus polled 19.1% and Pelosi won with 80.9%. For the 2000 and 2002 election cycles, she held the distinction of contributing the most among members of Congress to other congressional campaigns, in part because she is in a safe district and does not need the campaign funds. Committee assignments. In the House, she served on the Appropriations and Intelligence Committees, and was the ranking Democrat on the Intelligence Committee until her election as Minority Leader. Pelosi is a member of the House Baltic Caucus. Pre-speakership career. In 2001, Pelosi was elected the House Minority Whip, second in command to Minority Leader Dick Gephardt of Missouri. She was the first woman in U.S. history to hold that post. In 2002, after Gephardt resigned as Minority Leader to seek the Democratic nomination in the 2004 presidential election, Pelosi was elected to replace him, becoming the first woman to lead a major party in the House. First speakership, 2007 to 2011. Nomination. In the 2006 midterm elections, the Democrats took control of the House, picking up 30 seats. The change in control meant as House Minority Leader, Pelosi was widely expected to become Speaker of the House in the next Congress. On November 16, 2006, the Democratic caucus unanimously chose Pelosi as the Democratic candidate for Speaker. Pelosi supported her longtime friend John Murtha of Pennsylvania for the position of House Majority Leader, the second-ranking post in the House Democratic caucus. His competitor was House Minority Whip Steny Hoyer of Maryland, who had been Pelosi's second-in-command since 2003. Pelosi and Hoyer had a somewhat frosty relationship dating back to 2001, when they ran against each other for Minority Whip. However, Hoyer was elected as House Majority Leader over Murtha by a margin of 149 to 86 within the caucus. On January 3, Pelosi defeated Republican John Boehner of Ohio with 233 votes compared to his 202 votes in the election for Speaker of the House. Rahm Emanuel of Illinois, the incoming chairman of the House Democratic Caucus, nominated Pelosi, and her longtime friend John Dingell of Michigan swore her in, as the Dean of the House of Representatives traditionally does. With her election, Pelosi became the first woman, the first Californian, and the first Italian-American to hold the speakership. She is also the second speaker from a state west of the Rocky Mountains. The first was Washington's Tom Foley, the last Democrat to hold the post before Pelosi. During her speech, she discussed the historical importance of being the first female to hold the position of Speaker. This is a historic moment, for the Congress, and for the women of this country. It is a moment for which we have waited more than 200 years. Never losing faith, we waited through the many years of struggle to achieve our rights. But women weren't just waiting, women were working. Never losing faith, we worked to redeem the promise of America, that all men and women are created equal. For our daughters and granddaughters, today, we have broken the marble ceiling. For our daughters and our granddaughters, the sky is the limit, anything is possible for them. She also spoke on Iraq as the major issue facing the 110th Congress, while incorporating some Democratic Party beliefs. The election of 2006 was a call to change, not merely to change the control of Congress, but for a new direction for our country. Nowhere were the American people more clear about the need for a new direction than in Iraq. The American people rejected an open-ended obligation to a war without end. Tenure. As Speaker, Pelosi was still the leader of the House Democrats. The Speaker is considered to be the leader of his or her House caucus. However, by tradition, she did not normally participate in debate and almost never voted on the floor, though she had every right to as a full House member. She was also not a member of any House committees. Pelosi was re-elected Speaker in 2009. A CBS News poll conducted in March 2010 found that 37% of registered voters have an unfavorable opinion of the Speaker, with 11% approving. According to a March 2010 Rasmussen poll, 64% of voters nationally view the Speaker unfavorably, and 29% have a favorable opinion of Pelosi. During and after her tenure as Speaker, Pelosi was perceived as a contentious political figure, with Republican candidates frequently trying to tie their Democratic opponents to Pelosi and with moderate Democrats seeking to show their moderate bona fides by expressing opposition to Pelosi. Social Security mandate equals. Shortly after winning re-election, President George W. Bush claimed a mandate for an ambitious second-term agenda and proposed reforming Social Security by allowing workers to redirect a portion of their Social Security withholding into stock and bond investments. Pelosi strongly opposed the plan, saying there was no crisis, and as minority leader she imposed intense party discipline on her caucus, leading them to near-unanimous opposition to Bush's proposal, and subsequent defeat of the proposed plan. Blocking of impeachment proceedings against President Bush equals. In the wake of President George W. Bush's re-election in 2004, several leading House Democrats believed that Democrats should pursue impeachment proceedings against the president. They asserted that Bush had misled Congress about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and had violated the civil liberties of Americans by authorizing wiretaps without a warrant. In May 2006, with an eye on the upcoming congressional elections which offered the possibility of Democrats taking back control of the House for the first time since 1994, Pelosi told colleagues that, while the Democrats would conduct vigorous oversight of Bush administration policy, an impeachment investigation was off the table. A week earlier, she had told The Washington Post that, although Democrats would not set out to impeach the president, you never know where investigations might lead. After becoming Speaker of the House in January 2007, Pelosi held firm against impeachment, notwithstanding strong support for that course of action among constituents in her home district. In the November 2008 election, Pelosi withstood a challenge for her seat by anti-war activist Cindy Sheehan, who ran as an independent primarily because of Pelosi's refusal to pursue impeachment. The 100 hours equals. Prior to the U.S. 2006 midterm elections, Pelosi announced a plan for action. If elected, she and the newly empowered Democratic caucus would push through most of its program during the first 100 hours of the 110th Congress's term. The origin for the name First 100 Hours is a play on words derived from former Democratic President Franklin D. Roosevelt's promise for quick action on the part of government, to combat the Great Depression, during his first 100 days in office. Newt Gingrich, who became Speaker of the House in 1995, had a similar 100-day agenda to implement the contract with America. Opposition to Iraq war troop surge of 2007 equals. On January 5, 2007, reacting to suggestions from President Bush's confidants that he would increase troop levels in Iraq, which he announced in a speech a few days later, Pelosi joined with Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid to condemn the plan. They sent Bush a letter saying, "Here is no purely military solution in Iraq. There is only a political solution. Adding more combat troops will only endanger more Americans and stretch our military to the breaking point for no strategic gain. Rather than deploy additional forces to Iraq, we believe the way forward is to begin the phased redeployment of our forces in the next 4 to 6 months, while shifting the principal mission of our forces there from combat to training, logistics, force protection and counter-terror." 2008 Democratic National Convention. Pelosi was named permanent chair of the 2008 Democratic National Convention in Denver, Colorado. Healthcare reform equals. Pelosi has been credited for spearheading President Obama's healthcare law when it seemed that it would go down in defeat. After Republican Scott Brown won Democrat Ted Kennedy's former Senate seat in the January 2010 Massachusetts special election and thereby causing the Senate Democrats to lose their filibuster-proof majority, Obama agreed with then-Chief of Staff Rahm Emanuel's idea that he should do smaller initiatives that could pass easily. Pelosi, however, dismissed the president's fear and instead mocked his scaled-back ideas as kiddie care. After convincing the president that this would be their only shot at healthcare because of the large Democratic majorities they currently had, she rallied her Democratic caucus as she began an unbelievable marathon of a 2-month session to craft the healthcare bill, which successfully passed the House with a 219 to 212 vote. In Obama's remarks before signing the bill into law, he specifically credited Pelosi as being one of the best speakers the House of Representatives has ever had. House Minority Leader, 2011 to 2019. 112th and 113th Congress. Though Pelosi was re-elected by a comfortable margin in the 2010 midterm elections, the Democrats lost 63 seats and ceded control of the House of Representatives to the Republicans. Despite the electoral setback suffered by her party, Pelosi sought to continue leading the House Democratic caucus in the position of Minority Leader, the office she held prior to becoming Speaker. After Pelosi's disparate inter-party opposition failed to pass a motion to delay the leadership vote, Pelosi was elected Minority Leader for the 112th Congress. On November 14, 2012, Pelosi announced she would remain on as Democratic leader. In November 2011, 60 Minutes alleged that Pelosi and several other members of Congress had used information they gleaned from closed sessions to make money on the stock market. The program cited Pelosi's purchases of Visa stock while a bill that would limit credit card fees was in the House. Pelosi denied the allegations and called the report a right-wing smear. When the Stop Trading on Congressional Knowledge Act, or STOCK Act, was introduced the next year, Pelosi voted for the bill and lauded its passing. Of Representatives Louise Slaughter and Tim Walz, who drafted the bill, Pelosi said they shined a light on a gaping hole in our ethics laws and helped close it once and for all. 114th and 115th Congress. In August 2016, Pelosi said her personal contact information was posted online following a cyber attack against top Democratic campaign committees and she had received obscene and sick calls, voicemails and text messages. She warned members of Congress to avoid letting children or family members answer phone calls or read text messages. Tim Ryan initiated a bid to replace Pelosi as House Minority Leader on November 17, 2016, prompted by colleagues following the 2016 presidential election. After Pelosi agreed to give more leadership opportunities to junior members, she defeated Ryan by a vote of 134 to 63 on November 30. In 2017, after Democrats lost 4 consecutive special elections in the House of Representatives, Pelosi's leadership was again called into question. On June 22, 2017, a small group of House Democrats held a closed-door meeting in the office of Representative Kathleen Rice, NY, to discuss a strategy for selecting new Democratic leadership. Rice publicly called for new Democratic leadership in the House of Representatives, as did other House Democrats, including Tim Ryan, O., Seth Moulton, MA, and Phil Amanbella, TX. Cedric Richmond, LA, chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus, also attended the closed-door meeting on Pelosi. Rice said in a CNN interview about Pelosi's leadership, "If you were talking about a company that was posting losing numbers, if you were talking about any sports team that was losing time and time again, changes would be made, right? The CEO out. The coach would be out and there would be a new strategy put in place." In a press conference, Pelosi responded to the criticism by saying, "I respect any opinion that my members have, but my decision about how long I stay is not up to them." When asked specifically why she should stay on as House Minority Leader after numerous Democratic seats were lost, Pelosi responded, "Well, I'm a master legislator. I am a strategic, politically astute leader. My leadership is recognized by many around the country, and that is why I'm able to attract the support that I do." In November 2017, after Pelosi called for the resignation of John Conyers over allegations of harassment, She convened the first in a series of planned meetings on strategies to address reforming workplace policies in the wake of national attention to sexual harassment. Pelosi said Congress had a moral duty to the brave women and men coming forward to seize this moment and demonstrate real, effective leadership to foster a climate of respect and dignity in the workplace. In February 2018, Pelosi sent a letter to Speaker Ryan accusing Republicans with having waged a cover-up campaign to protect Trump and cited last-minute changes to the memo after a vote for its release as dangerous and violating House rules, saying, House Republicans' pattern of obstruction and cover-up to hide the truth about the Trump-Russia scandal represents a threat to our intelligence and our national security. The GOP has led a partisan effort to distort intelligence and discredit the U.S. law enforcement and intelligence communities. She charged House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes with partaking in deliberately dishonest actions and called for his immediate removal from his position. In February 2018, Pelosi broke the record for longest speech in the House of Representatives when she spent more than 8 hours recounting stories from Dreamers, individuals who were brought to the United States as minors by undocumented immigrants, to object to a budget deal which would raise spending caps without addressing the future of DACA recipients, which were at risk of deportation by the Trump administration. In May 2018, after the White House invited 2 Republicans and no Democrats to a briefing by Department of Justice officials on an FBI informant that made contact with the Trump campaign, Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Schumer sent a letter to Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein and FBI Director Wray calling for a bipartisan Gang of 8 briefing that involves congressional leadership from both chambers. In August 2018, Pelosi called for the resignation of Duncan D. Hunter after his indictment on charges of misusing at least $250,000 in campaign funds, saying in a statement that the charges were evidence of the rampant culture of corruption among Republicans in Washington today. Second Speakership, 2019. In the 2018 midterm elections, the Democrats regained a majority of seats in the House. On November 28, House Democrats nominated Pelosi to once again serve as Speaker of the House. She was formally re-elected to the speakership at the start of the 116th Congress on January 3, 2019.